The Duo M is a spring-mounted 75% keyboard that comes with a 3-layered case design, letting you add a unique middle layer accent that'll go with any setup. This isn't Duo Foundry's first foray in mechanical keyboards, as their first project, the Duo S, even though being a pretty solid board, flew under the radar a bit. It also sported a 3-piece design, which I think they've improved upon in the Duo M. Probably one of the more interesting looking keyboards I've seen so far this year. The Duo M also took the fad of the rotary encoder and flipped this as well. Instead of a knob, they decided to go with a scroll wheel instead. Now I know this isn't new, as the Voice 65 and other retail keyboards have had this as well, but you and I both know that the traditional knob has been more in favor as of late. One odd thing I noticed about the rotary encoder is that it seems to register a key press every 3 notches. As volume control, it only increases and decreases by increments of 2. Now that's not a con, as the Zoom 65 also does this, but just in case you didn't know, now you know. I set this to RGB toggle because it's way cooler anyway. RGB, baby! The Duo M will be offered in 6 different colorways: black, navy, gray, silver copper, and maroon. 5 pieces that make up the keyboard will be offered in all of these colors as well, letting you mix and match to any color your heart desires. The website has a cool configurator that'll help you visualize what your final combination will be as well. The Duo M will come with a carrying case and everything that you need other than switches, keycaps, and stabilizers. The group buy is right now. And I know my video is kinda late, but they only had 2 prototypes floating around, so they had to go get one back before sending it over to me. So thanks, Duo Foundry. Fun fact, I think this is the one Lewis Toh built on his channel. I can smell it. Squatchy Boy 2? The build process is fairly simple. All you need to do is install your stabilizers, install your switches, install your gaskets, unscrew the top case, apply force brake stickers on the top case, unscrew the mid piece, screw in your daughter board to the mid piece, drop in your springs, plug in the JST cable to the PCB and screw it in all back together. See, fairly simple. This is my first experience with a spring mounted PCB. There are a couple I can think of: the SPR67 from Acco and this monstrosity made by Keyboard.
What have I done?
The springs here definitely give off a softer typing experience, but not soft enough to be considered super bouncy. I personally think under normal typing, there's really only 3 types of feels: hard, soft, and super bouncy. A hard typing experience feels completely stiff and stable. If you've ever typed on a brass plate, you know what I'm getting at here. I don't consider this a bad experience, as I'm personally a fan of it. Then there's the other side of the spectrum, being super bouncy. The only way I could explain this is like typing on a trampoline. I would consider most plateless builds with PCBs that have a ton of flex cuts super bouncy. This being very apparent in keyboards like the Glacier 80, where you can literally feel the board vibrating as you type. The QK75 barely fits into this category, as the multiple mounting points really do secure the PCB enough from flexing too much, even in the plateless format. So if you're using that as a guide, just know there's a whole nother spectrum of super bouncy. And then we get into the middle of the pack, which is the soft typing experience. I feel like this is the category where most keyboards fall. It's probably better explained as a non-jarring type of experience. One where it's not jarring enough to feel like you're typing on a brick or typing on a trampoline. It's just nice and soft. Again, this is under normal typing conditions, and which ones are harder. Shut up, Thunder! I'm recording a YouTube video. Again, this is under normal typing conditions. Of course, if you're pressing up and down on your keyboard or A/B testing different keyboards at the same time, sure, you can tell which ones are softer and which ones are harder. But in a vacuum, soft all kind of feels the same. And this is where the Duo M falls as well. The only benefit I can see from the spring mount is that all areas of the board have a consistent flex, whether you're on the home row, the F row, or even the bottom row. Now for the meat and potatoes. This keyboard has no flex. Rejoice, keyboard community, as all your crying has finally found the ears of the designers. No flex cuts, no more killing sound. The board does not come with any foam, so only one configuration. The top row does have a bit of hollowness, but if that bothers you, you can add some polyfill to tighten up the sound a bit. That is totally up to you though. I really like the board in its stock configuration and how it's offered as is. The cons. I do have a few critiques I want to touch on. This keyboard does not come with an included Allen key. So if you do end up picking this up, you need to make sure you have a H1.5 Allen key and a H2.0 Allen key for the weight screws. Although VIA compatible, I could only get it to register on the older version of VIA. Luckily, I had a version of this loaded onto my old PC. The version that is up on VIA's website right now just didn't want to load the key layout. Another issue I found with the PCB was my USB-C cables worked in only one direction. If I plugged it in the opposite direction, the keyboard failed every time. Here's an example with plugging it in one direction and the RGB stops in place, signaling a failure to recognize the device. But when I flip the USB cable, it works. I haven't seen this before, so I thought it was a pretty odd issue. I'll let Duo Foundry know about these issues and they will make sure that these do not happen in the production run. So I pretty much wasted 45 seconds of your life telling you about it. Just a quick update. After fully assembling the board, the issues solved itself. I don't know how, maybe because the switches are now in, but when I was testing the PCB before the build, that's when I was getting all those errors. But now that it's fully assembled, I don't know. On with the video. So this or the QK75? That's a really tough question. If you care about value, then the QK75 is the way to go, and it's really hard to say otherwise. For a seasoned keyboard enjoyer, I would say this. It's no secret that aesthetics play a big part in separating high-end and budget boards, and this is no exception. A more unique styling and niche mounting system in our already niche hobby is something I value just a little bit more. But for $341, not including stabilizers or even the Allen key, hurts just a little. But if you got deep pockets and you like the look and sound of this board, I would not criticize you one bit. I personally think Duo Foundry did a pretty good job on this one. And since you've made it this far in the video, why don't you help your boy out reach 5K by the summer and hit the